Hi, I'm Eve with The Baby's Booty. Thank you for joining me today as we embark on another embroidery project using our multi-needle machine. This project was a special request by one of our hoop group members who asked if we could embroider on a leather journal. So that's what we are going to do today, is personalize this adorable leather journal for a dear relative of mine, and I'm sure she's absolutely going to love this. And we are going to easily accomplish this task today by using the embroidery grip. So I'm excited to share this project with you as we do it so easily with the embroidery group hoop from Colman and Company. So join me and we'll go ahead and get started. So the cool thing about us embroidering on this really cute little journal is that it is complete leather. This is full leather, and if you look on the inside of this journal, it has some lined pages, and then it also has some blank pages, and it also has a couple of little areas where there's a pocket if someone wanted to put notes or whatever on the inside. And embroidering this journal, I've decided that this is going to be a gift for a really dear relative of mine. And this brings up a really quick little known fact about me. I absolutely love to write. I love writing, and I collect pens. I collect glass pens, fountain pens, calligraphy pens. I absolutely love pens. And I have a relative who enjoys the exact same thing. So I'm going to make this journal for her exclusively, and I'm really excited about it. And because this leather is quite supple, I feel like we'll get some excellent embroidery results out of it. And if you'll notice, it's not super thick. It does have a thickness to it though. So you can see it has some thickness to the leather, so it's not like super thin. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get some embroidery out of it. Now normally I use a 90-14 embroidery needle. Top stitch embroidery needle is what I normally use for my embroidery projects, because the top stitch needle has the wide eye that allows for the thread to maneuver through the needle without a lot of drama and without a lot of fuss. And the 90-14 is a pretty good size that produces some pretty excellent embroidery results. Well, our friend over at Carolina Thread Place, Will, he did send me some leather needles. So what I would like to do is try this with our regular top stitch needle that I normally use. And if we run into some complications, then I'll switch over to the leather needle. But for the time being, what I'll do is go ahead and drop a link in the description below for this adorable leather journal. Thank you for the suggestion, by the way. And we are going to use this with our embroidery grip. Okay, so the embroidery grip frame is right here, and this comes from our friends down at Conde Systems out of Florida, and they sent this for us to have a lot of fun with. And one of the things that I did put out there is a suggestion for some stuff you would like to see embroidered that's pretty difficult to hoop normally on any normal embroidery machine. Well, this embroidery grip makes embroidering on those difficult things quite simple. All right, so we've already done some boots with this, rain boots. We've done regular boots. We've done Converse tennis shoes. We've done, oh my gosh, what else? There's been quite a few things we've done. So if you will go back and check in our live demonstrations, you'll see that a lot of these I was embroidering live here on the channel. And it's very simple to use. You just flip the lever to open up our brackets here, and then you slide the item on, and then you clamp the lever down onto the item, and it locks in place and makes it really easy to hold. And these grips are super strong, and this is a well-made sturdy frame, I absolutely love it. It's heavy duty. It doesn't feel like I'm gonna break it when I'm using it with some of these heavier items. So I've had a lot of fun using this embroidery grip, and you can adjust it to any size with these wing nuts on each one of the grip arms. So you just twist the wing nut and then you slide the embroidery grip arm to whatever position you need. And as you see, it goes really close to the center. So if I loosen this one as well and slide it over, look at that space there that you can get out of embroidering on something, and you can even get closer than that. I mean, I would be really hesitant to embroider something this close together, but you may have a project that requires that. So I do enjoy the fact that this is so completely adjustable, one piece. I don't have to buy a whole bunch of different frames and windows and things of that magnitude to embroider what I need to get done on this particular hoop. So I absolutely love it, and that will have a link down below as well on how you can get an embroidery grip for your multi-needle machine as well. So without any further hesitations or delays, let's go ahead and get this set up on the embroidery machine, and then we'll clamp our journal in place and we'll stitch out a really simple design. It shouldn't take us long at all. Putting the embroidery grip onto the multi-needle machine, the Brother PR655 is the machine that I'm using, and it is the 6 needle. Let's back this out just a little bit so that you can get a full view. So this is actually really easy to put onto the embroidery machine. This is your normal grip arm where you would just slide your regular hoops on. The exact same thing works with the embroidery grip. The only thing I definitely suggest is you loosen your wing nuts and slide these arms out so that they don't bump into any of this part of the machine here. Once you get it on the machine, then you can slide these in closer. Okay, so let's go ahead and slide this onto the embroidery machine arm. And what I also did to make it easier to load the hoop is I went ahead and had the embroidery arm move all the way forward to the very front of the machine. So I'll go ahead and set that back in place. All right, and this is your normal hoop starting position. All right, so now that we have that, I'm going to grab the journal. Now I pre-measured this journal ahead of time to make sure that the design I'm going to put on the front of this is going to fit. All right, so I'm going to actually stitch a name on the front. This is about 4 inches from right here on the front. We have about 4-inch embroidery space. So what I did was I went ahead and created the design, digitized the design, and made it where it's 3.25. So it's not too big on the front of the journal, but big enough where it's going to stand out. All right. And being that her favorite color is green, I'm going to use a really pretty green on the front of here and go ahead and embroider her name. So 4 inches wide. Now I can do the arms one of a couple of ways. I can set this right here and then slide the arms over until I'm pretty sure they'll fit, and measure it by just sight if I wanted to. But I also want to be sure that the space in here isn't going to bump or grab hold like my needle hitting either one of these arms. And as I mentioned, the design is 3 1/4. Okay, so let me grab my ruler, and I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that that is the width between these metal arms. Okay, so as of right now, the distance between this isn't even 2 3/4. Okay, and I know it's difficult for you to see that from here, but I'll hold it up this way and see if that makes it any better. We'll zoom in a little bit. So it's not even 2 3/4, so I need to definitely adjust these bigger. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out some, and now we are at 3 and almost 3 1/2, not quite. So let's pull this over, And what I'm probably going to do is put this where it is right at 3.5 or 4 inches. Let's see. Yeah, let's do 3 3/4 actually, because I want to be sure that the notebook is going to fit. So we have it at 3 3/4 now, the distance in this arm, and I have it fairly centered, but I'm going to make sure after I put the book on here and load the design, I'm going to make sure that it's centered so that it doesn't go too far that way or this way. So let's lock these down by tightening the wing nuts. All right, and this journal, I can stretch this out a little bit so that I can get this stuff out of the way. And let's lift the arms and set our book on here. Now, this particular project does not necessarily have to have stabilizer. Why would I say that? Why would I say it doesn't necessarily have to have stabilizer? Well, I'm saying that because the leather is so thick and this isn't going anywhere. It doesn't have any give to it. It doesn't have a stretch to it. So we're fine letting the leather stabilize itself. Okay. So if the fabric moved a lot, or it had, it was thin, something along those lines, then we want to be 100% sure that we don't forget to stabilize. But because this already has some stabilization to it itself and it's so thick, we're not going to stabilize. Okay, so let me get the ruler again, and I want to be sure that we are centered as much as possible. Okay, so I'm laying the ruler on top in between the two bracket arms. All right, and in doing that, I'm going to find the center. So my design is already set in the machine, and I turned on the laser so that I can find the center with the laser. Let me zoom in a little more. So I turned on the laser dot, and I have my ruler laid here on top so that I can make sure that that dot lines up with the 2 inches. So I'm going to slide it up a little bit closer to that, and I know that makes it a little more difficult for you to see, but I want to be 100% sure that this thing is centered because I don't want it hitting these arms. Okay, another way to double check after doing this with the ruler, I'm going to make the machine go to the far right and the far left of the design to make sure that it doesn't hit these arms. All right, so let's go ahead and get that to go to the far right and see how it's away from that arm. It's right up there at it though, don't get it wrong, but we're out in the safety zone. So let's go to the far left, and likewise we should not hit that embroidery arm. All right, so the next thing is I want to be sure where it's located on the book. That wasn't really an extremely important feature for me, but I don't want it to be under the strap. Okay, so we're going to move this up just a little bit. All right, and so the top of the embroidery design is going to be up here, and the bottom is going to be here. So I'm actually going to bump that down just a smidge. All right, so this is where our embroidery design is now going to go. So let's close this out, and now I'm going to make sure that the correct thread color is selected, which I have a lovely green up there to put her name on the cover. And what I'm also going to do is slow my embroidery machine down. All right, so my embroidery machine is currently set to embroider at 800 stitches per minute. So let's guide you over here so that you can see that clearly. So now we're at 800 stitches. I'm actually going to drop that down, okay, and slow it down some. So I'm going to go about 500 stitches per minute I'm not sure how slow I can go. 400 is the slowest. I may leave it at 400 just to be sure that everything stitches safely. And there is a chance that we will break a needle. So I want to be sure that I'm watching it. I'm standing over this and making sure that everything stitches out like it is supposed to. So now that I've slowed it down, we're gonna go ahead and get started. And let's watch and see how the needle goes. I don't know. So this is a top stitch 9014 needle. All right, so the first thing it did was it pulled the thread out of the needle. I just noticed that, but it's puncturing the leather really well, not causing any problems there. So let's readjust this. All right, and we're gonna try that again. I'm gonna back it up so that it will get those lock stitches that it needs. little journal is done. So what we want to do is lift the arms using these very easy to lift levers and pull our journal right off. As we see, it is absolutely gorgeous. All right, our embroidery grip held on to this very easily. It made the embroidery quite simple to do. Even our 9014 top stitch needle behaved itself and it embroidered gorgeously. So let's turn it over to the back. No thread breaks back there. It looks good on the back as well. So our journal is done. So leather is not an issue with our embroidery grip hoop. And again, I want to say thank you to Colman and Company for allowing us to use this totally awesome embroidery grip that made this project so much easier. All we had to do was put it in the grips, latch them closed, and stitch away, and it made it so very simple. So no matter the size of your project, the embroidery grip can help you embroider just about anything. So I want to thank you all for joining me. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to our next project with the embroidery grip. We're going to be embroidering on a saddle blanket. So please be sure to tune back in here soon. So until the next time we see you, we hope you have happy embroidering. Now this is one of those instances where you're really glad that what you're doing is something you can adjust, because I embroidered her name upside down. But guess what? I can take this apart. Yay! How cool is that? Thank goodness.